The Make a Difference initiative and Men Against Rape Foundation have taken their campaign against sexual and domestic violence a notch higher by organizing a karaoke cum art night in Abuja to raise awareness against the menace, recruit more campaigners, and empower survivors. The occasion, which celebrates women, also raised awareness concerning the rising evil of sexual and domestic violence, and also raised money to provide psychological and legal support for survivors. The foundation is taking the government and people, or tasking them and people of goodwill to do more to provide financial and psychological support to survivors of sexual and domestic violence because of the grave trauma they may have to deal with for a lifetime.
It's been a yawning gap between the rhetorics of government and persons with concrete action. I see every day people, survivors of sexual and domestic violence, going on and needing help, needing therapy, needing support, because the consequence of the psychosocial trauma that survivors of sexual and domestic violence go through is a lifetime trauma.
This is a means of healing. When I started having problems in my marriage, and then which finally led to my separation, I had no other things that to take solace on than to start getting things, piecing up stuff. I started crafting, and I found out that it gave me so much peace. It gave me so much. I found a place in crafting. I found a place in painting. I look at stuff and I tell myself that those things I can do them, and I found myself doing them.
I want to live, but I'll think about my kids. Where do I go with these kids? How do I survive? How do I start life as a single mother, especially in Nigeria, where there is no form of support system?
Well, for more on this, we're now joined by LEMMY UGHEGBE. He is the convener of the Men Against Rape Awareness, and also in our off-site studio by OKWUOSA, a survivor of sexual and gender-based violence. Maybe I should start with you in the off-site studio, Anne. The experience, must have been very traumatic, the kind of tortures, psychological dementia that you must have suffered. But tell us, does a woman really need to stay there because of wanting to keep the marriage? Some will say, oh, because of the children and the rest. Isn't it better to save your life just like you did? Hello, Anne. Well, it doesn't look as if Anne heard me there, but let me quickly to you. You're using this new initiative, Men Against Rape, as a new vehicle to, capture awareness and drive the message home that these people, they need healing, victims of this gender-based violence.
Yeah. Really, if you look at it, the majority of sexual and gender-based violence are perpetrated by the male folks. And with the patriarchal socialization of all of us, both men and women, men have been given a sense of entitlement that even when women say no, men feel like they are entitled to still ravaging and having access to the bodies of the women. And so we decided that we should be in the forefront to lead, because again, we know how the man feels. We understand the emotion of the man. We also have the language to reach the man in order to win him over, to understand that real men don't actually assault or rape women. Real men actually protect women and children. That's the essence of all of what we are doing.
Quickly, Lemmy, and poetry, art, karaoke, music are vehicles that suit the psychological torture that they must have gone through. Yes. What kind of feedback do you get?
Yeah, absolutely. You would find that everyday life is actually art and poetry. So people find their expressions and some power and therapy through it. For instance, one of our survivors, who I think you'll be speaking with, Anne, when we started engaging, she found that she found therapy. It's had a therapeutic effect. And she does amazing art whenever she's on the downside, because survivors suffer trauma for a lifetime. When she's on the downside, she gets inspired to find solace in the therapeutic effect of art. And it will amaze you how much she did. And even at our karaoke and arts night, lots of people were interested in her paintings, in her work, and they bought some of her work. And it's amazing because she's becoming the best version of herself, turning her lemons to lemonades in the process.
Right, we do have Anne now. Anne OKWUOSA, earlier we were trying to find out from you, how were you able to make that tough decision to walk away from this relationship or this marriage that wasn't working again? There's so many others who are still there. How did you do it, Anne?
Okay, good evening. At one time in our life, we have to take that decision that we know is good for us. We have to leave what we see as a safe haven and then seek what is good for us. I had to take that decision when it was becoming so much. I couldn't take it anymore. My family couldn't take it anymore. And the people around me could not take it anymore. And everyone and I also believe it is the best decision. So I did it.
You did it indeed. And again, I mean, and there are some people who will be watching you now and maybe just find it difficult to take that bold step. So many people have been there because they're afraid of what would the world say. What do you say to them, Anne?
Okay. My advice is, if you know you can't do it anymore, if you know you have put in your best to do what you feel you can do, you have tried all options, you have tried really well to see that it gets working. Nobody goes into a relationship, especially marriage, thinking that, oh, maybe in a year or two, I'll be out of it. Nobody does that. But when you have done all that you can do and you have put in every effort, and then you find out that with all the efforts you're putting in, nothing is working, and I just feel you have to take that decision. It is tough though, but you really need to do that.
It is indeed tough. Let's turn to you now, LEMMY UGHEGBE. Men against rape. Do you engage psychologists, clinical psychologists, in trying to reintegrate these people to society and live a better life, and to, stave away all the traumatic experiences that they may have had in such turbulent relationship?
Absolutely. We are blessed to have people, psychologists, shrinks, if you like, who actually appreciate what we are doing. We have provided a platform that helps them to also even find expression, because again, it starts first by even being friends enough to win the confidence of survivors to agree to open up. So through us, they open up, then we get our shrinks, our psychologists, to also begin to provide some counseling and support for them. It's absolutely necessary because the psychosocial trauma is grave, and without that, as a matter of fact, like we say, for perpetrators, it's 5 minutes of pleasure for them, but it's a lifetime trauma for the survivors. So we all need to come together to raise our voices, to recruit more campaigners, to tell men to join the fray, and let's do all we can to actually rid society of this menace.
Thanks so very much, LEMMY UGHEGBE, the convener, Men Against Rape. Wish we had enough time to interrogate this, but good enough time. You've said all that there is. And to the survivor in Offside Studio, and OKWUOSA, thanks very much, and keep strong, and this newfound love you have in the arts, continue to do it.